Hey there, fellow fish lovers and water garden and water feature freaks. My name's Darren. I'm kind of a new guy to the forums. I just wanted to kind of try and make a short video. I'm a long talker, so I'm going to try and shut this down as quick as I can. But I have posted a few pictures on my water garden, of my whiskey barrel and a few other things that I've had people question me on. How did I do this? How did I do that? Let me give you a quick background on me. My name's Darren. I'm from the Midwest. I live outside of Kansas City in suburbia. I built my first and only pond about 20 years ago. I had this much knowledge, didn't know what I was doing. We were going to initially build a little bitty, my wife wanted a pond. It was all her idea. This is all her fault. I'm putting the blame on her 100%. Unfortunately, she's also a member, so she's going to knock me out on this. But when we built the home 23 years ago, after a couple of years, she said, I want a pond. She wanted me to go up to Home Depot, buy one of those little plastic inserts, dig a small hole, stick it in there, put a bubbler, and call it a day. Well, if you don't know me, but if you did, you know I don't do anything small on a small scale. My current occupation, and I've had the same job for 20 years, is I own my own business doing home theaters, media rooms. So I do a lot of creative things and create some pretty cool rooms. So I do the same thing with anything. I try and just be different and do what I want to do. And usually the client, I got to listen to them too, of course. But with my pond, I had free liberty. So long story short, one day we started digging a hole for the insert that she wanted me to get. Spent 30 minutes out there digging in the clay, and she looked at me and goes, honey, is there an easier way to do this? But unbeknownst to her, I had already called a local rental company to price getting a backhoe, front hoe to excavate the pond I really wanted. So that's what started it, is excavating a large hole. Now my pond, a lot of you guys are gonna say it's gaudy. Some are gonna love it, some are gonna hate it. But that's life with everything. And my pond's got some unique features, and like again, some people ask questions about it, so I'm going to cover those questions. I'm going to cover a couple mistakes I made early on that I learned about later, and so let's get this thing rolling along. And I'm just going to do a quick drive through or flyby of my pond, and so you can kind of see what we're working with here. So right from my seat, this is what you see. What you see in the background, that UFO, is under construction. That will be my fire pit area. Right now you're looking at the lid to my skimmer. I have an aquascape skimmer, so everything goes into that, gets caught, all the big stuff, fish, frogs, leaves get caught in a basket that I empty out once a week. There's a pre-filter in there, porous pre-filter that sits right above my 4,000 gallon an hour aquascape pump. Those are just all natural cattails. Boardwalk flagstone, that's Cujo. He is supposed to scare away herons. Whether he scares away herons or not, I do not know. I'm not back here 24/7, but I don't see any missing fish. Continue around, you'll see my creature from the Black Lagoon. We'll cover him, how I made him and how he works. Behind him is my main waterfall. Don't ask me about plants, because my wife knows all about plants. Right in front of me, I do know that. That's a citronella plant. If you're going to buy one to get rid of bugs, don't waste your time, because the citronella plant does nothing for bugs. It's the oil, so you need to have the citronella oil to repel bugs. Continuing from my swivel chair bridge, beyond the bridge, you'll see the troll house, which is made of an old stump, and I'll show you how I made that. That's also under construction currently. Turning here, you'll see my night blooming lotus. You just missed it. He just closed up about 20 minutes ago. He blooms red, ruby red at night. Then obviously in the background you see my Jack Daniel's whiskey cask water feature that I made. A lot of questions on that, so I'll answer that. And then we come to the end of the pond. So if you haven't figured it out, my pond is really a moat all the way around my patio. It's L-shaped with some unusual features. So this is kind of a traditional, rectangular. Then I've got you know, the stone, which is more natural. I got freeform design in here. I've got cedar plank boardwalk that complements natural flagstone, natural rock. So I've got a little bit of everything in my water garden. So let me tell you, this water garden is 20 years old. Last spring, I'd already called a company to rent some heavy-duty equipment, and I was going to basically bury this thing in. We hadn't really messed with it for about 4 or 5 years, and we were just tired of it. It was all Kansas limestone all the way around, because limestone is plentiful here, and I didn't know any better, okay? 20 years ago, I just wanted to build a pond, dug a big hole, got in over my head. I called a guy who had just opened his water garden company, Kevin Swan, here in Kansas City. He had been doing the business for just a few years, had been doing it as a hobby for many, so he came out and kind of said, okay, you got a big hole here, buddy. And I go, yep. And I stopped I stopped for 2 years after I dug the hole, because I freaked out. I trying to figure out, how am I going to put a liner in here? You guys that are doing square ponds and round ponds, it's pretty easy to figure out your liner, right? But try to figure out putting a liner in this L-shaped with circles, and I did not want to put a piece of liner 10 feet here, glue it and seam it, do another. I was just afraid of leaks. So I told him right about, I want one piece of liner, and he goes, man, you're gonna have a lot of waste, because all this area here, we got to cut out. He says, but what I'll do is I'll buy your waste and I'll resell it to a client. And I said, well, that helps a bunch. So Kevin came out, helped me with rock placement, helped me with the liner, but the overall design is my idea. So last spring, I dropped a couple fish in there. Make this long story short, my grandkids were here. I said, hey, let's put a couple fish in here after not touching the pond for 5 years. And then I said, man, I opened a can of worms. There's no way I can destroy this water garden now. You know, tell my grandkids I killed all their fish. So it came to me at that point that I wanted to do something completely different. I wanted to do something that was far out, that was different, that some people would think is gaudy, some people think it's cool, but I was trying to think at that kid level, to where what would make it exciting and fun for a kid when they come out here, as well as adults. Because my grandkids come out here and we get friends that come over, we have little night parties, they love it too. So I'm going to break this thing down and we'll start over. So this area here I call the prospector area. You can see I used a Jack Daniel's cask to make a water feature, and I've got a prospector's pickaxe. I made some dynamite out of dowel rods. The grandkids got involved and made gold. They took stones, glitter, and painted some gold stones. The black is actual coal that I brought back from Utah from my uncle's place. My night blooming lotus. So let's start with the water feature. How did I make the water feature? Number one, get yourself a whiskey barrel. They run anywhere from $80 up to $300, depending on where you're at and where you get them. Went to go get this one. It was $100. I bought 3. The lady said, okay, well, I'll just sell them to you at 80. So I bought 3 for 80, sold one to my neighbor for $80. I helped him finish his off. I finished another one really cool. I put Jack Daniel's old number 7 on the front, sold it for nearly $300, and I kept this. So I made my money back plus some by doing this. So the feature, how did I do it? There's nothing at this time last year of how to make a whiskey cask water feature. There's a couple pictures of people that have done it, but no one's explained how to do it. And I'm going to briefly explain what I did. So the cask, basically sanded it all down, got it nice and smooth, got all the rust off of it. Then I used teak oil, several coats of teak oil, which you can buy at Home Depot. Why did I not use lacquer or varnish finish? Because I talked to professionals that take these things and make furniture out of them. They said absolutely do not use varnish or a clear coat like lacquer, because it'll crack over time. They said use teak oil. Yes, you have to apply the teak oil periodically throughout the year, but it'll keep the wood soft and keep the wood, from crack, you just won't have the problem. So that's what I did. So you can, I don't know if you can see here, but down on the lower parts of the barrel where the sun hasn't been hitting it this summer, it's still shiny and new. The top has weathered because I had COVID for the last 2 months, so I haven't had time to go over it with teak wood oil, but I'll do it here in probably next month. And when I do that, it'll look brand new. The barrel itself did not have the Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey logo on it. I got online and figured out how I could chemically burn that into the wood. I didn't want to spray paint something. I didn't want to put a vinyl logo on it, because I know at the distillery factories they actually have a machine that burns that logo into the wood. So that's actually burned into the wood. When I apply that teak oil, it's going to bring all that black out. It's kind of faded now, but once I put that teak oil, it'll be just as black as the day I put on there. So the water that's coming out is coming out of a 2-inch piece of PVC pipe. So no water touches the inside of the cask. So it's fed from the back. I bored a 2-inch hole so my PVC pipe could come out. If you see that little dark piece of trim around it, that's actually from Home Depot that went onto you would see that in your shower, behind your shower head or faucet. The actual faucet here is plastic from Amazon. I painted it bronze, weathered it, textured it, painted some rust on it to get a metallic look. So we've got a faucet which I can adjust. I've got a piece of 2-inch PVC pipe running through the middle of my cask, and then on the back side. Now keep in mind that before I built this last summer, this was just a real simple limestone, which is right here, just stacked limestone on top of the liner. It wasn't very pretty. So I replumbed. That was the hardest part, finding all the pieces that would fit on the 2-inch pipe and come together. So this is the original 20-year-old piece of piping that runs all along my pond, around back of the biofalls, splits off, part of it goes to the waterfall, and then it originates at the pump way over there at the skimmer, right? So the reason it's split here is because, again, before there was a waterfall below this, so part of the water still comes out underneath the barrel, down the rocks, and the other part of the water, most of it is diverted through the whiskey barrel itself. Probably overkill, but I like the water, and I like it so it looks like it's not sitting on top of a dry water bed. It's actually active waterfall, right? And then I just took, for placement, if you can see, just some 4x4s and 2x6 between the 4x4s, and I notched it out, cut it out so the barrel could fit on there nice and smooth, angled it. Did the same with the front with the 4x4 seater and the 2x6 seater. You can see, I weathered it up, chipped it up. I took a mixture of vinegar and steel wool, put it in a mason jar for about 5 days. It creates a rusty solution that you can paint on wood and weather it. So that's primarily how I did that. Is it difficult? Not really. A little time consuming. Once you do your first one, you could probably knock out one of these a day and sell them and make money. See, I gave you an idea. The fence. No one's asked me any questions about that, but I'll tell you real quick. The fence is repurposed cedar that I found in my backyard. The posts are brand new. So when I got the posts, they look like yellow pine. So I took the same mixture that I weathered this wood with. I weathered the posts. So that kind of gives it that aged effect. The look I was going for, folks, is I wanted something that most people don't normally see, and I wanted a place to an escape. I didn't want to come out to a regular pond anymore like I had for the last few years. I wanted something that attracted my eye, something that was imaginative, and somewhere that I could feel like if I close my eyes, it's like we're not in Kansas anymore, right? So that's why I come up with this prospector area. First came the barrel, then I thought, what goes with a whiskey barrel water fountain or water? I don't know. Well, I got Colorado rock, so I started thinking Colorado. What's in Colorado? Mining. Okay, so then I put the prospector idea. So that's how this became a prospector theme. This is also the area I feed my fish typically. They hear me talking, so they're kind of hidden right now. The fish know my voice. Koi know your voice. Koi know your face. But the way I'm talking, they know I'm not talking naturally, so they're like, okay, something's up. So they're all hidden probably underneath this bridge. Probably not necessarily a mistake, but just over-engineering when I first built my pond. Now imagine this was all just limestone, loose limestone, pretty much stacked with some stuff, expanding spray sprayed in there to kind of make it a little bit more stable. All limestone stacked up over there, limestone all the way around that way, limestone here, all right? I never had a bridge. My wife wanted a bridge, so we built a bridge this time. My friends would come over before and jump from limestone rock to the next one, which is about 5 feet, and no one ever fell in the pond. At least they never told me that. I'm not a rock guy, not a mason. So I had a friend to come out, and he did all my flagstone for me, got rid of the limestone. Oh, what I was telling you, the mistake I made is, and over-engineered, is below all this stone is concrete. I literally built a concrete retaining wall, the perimeter of my entire pond right up to my patio. And it's anywhere from 12 to 14 inches wide, and in the deepest part of my pond, it's about 3 inches thick deep. Overkill. Rebar is in there. The only way to tear this pond out completely with jackhammers and steel cutting saw blades, and probably a construction crew that would be cussing me out the entire 2 days they were out here tearing this thing out. So I'm glad last spring we decided to rebuild. So that was kind of a mistake. It was a learning experience. 20 years ago, wasn't a lot of info out there. I didn't know you could do a dirt berm and all that. Another mistake, limestone and water do not mix. Limestone is a very soft stone, and water will deteriorate it. So after a few years, I noticed rocks starting to break and crumble. So most of the soft limestone I took out this last summer and replaced it with hard stone and river rock. So that took care of that problem. The entire liner of my pond, the main liner, which is this L-shaped, including the semicircle here and this free design here, is 20 years old. I can't remember what, I think it's a 40 mil liner. Don't quote me on that. They told me it would last about 20 years. So if you're building a pond, my recommendation is cover your liner with stone or plants. Because I'll tell you why. When I pulled up all the limestone, took the limestone out of the pond, the liner behind the rocks was soft and pliable, just as it was the day it was new. I cut off a piece of that nice old 20-year-old liner, compared it to brand new 40 mil liner, which I had bought from my waterfalls. The waterfalls do have new liners because they did, over a period of time, get some holes in them, mice and things like that. So I compared the two. You could not tell the difference between the 20-year-old liner and the brand new liner. Both very pliable. I cut a section off near my skimmer that's always been exposed to UV. It was, you couldn't stretch it anymore. It was more rigid, and you could tell the integrity of it had just had gone away over the years because of the sunlight. The sunlight is horrible. Okay, so I told you about how I did that. What's this over here? This is my new troll tree stump where my bridge troll is going to live, because somebody's got to manage my bridge over here, right? I did not want a gnome that you buy at the store with the blue shorts and the red cap. It looks like Santa Claus. I wanted something that looked mean, something like Lord of the Rings. So I found a guy on Etsy that makes mountain trolls that are about 10 to 12 inches tall. So that's where the troll is going to go. How did I make this? And it's still under construction. What do I have to do next? Is I need to put bark on it. I'm going to use some brown grout, and then I'm going to leave areas where the bark is peeled off and you can see the wood underneath. But how I made this was basically I took wire mesh that you would use for like stucco on the side of your house. I made a round circular form, cut out these uneven edges, then quickly as possible put quick drying cement all the way around it. I took the same metal I'm sorry, COVID brain gives you, it just screws what you can't think for nothing. But anyway, I took that mesh and I created forms for the tree roots. So this should have been done, but COVID prevented that. So when it is done, it will be brown with bark texture, with areas of wood poking through, plexiglass over the two windows, a flame light inside. I've temporarily have a flame light in there now, just to see how the effect would work. A door will go on the front. The troll will be out here. My wife bought this cute little dragon, which we'll probably keep, but I will paint him so he's more realistic and kind of blends in more with the troll. So again, this is a do-it-yourself project. There are plenty of videos on YouTube how to do that, but just nothing yet on how to do a whiskey barrel fountain, unless somebody put one up there last year. Okay, next do-it-yourself project. Creature from the Black Lagoon. I get a lot of questions about him. He is life-size. He's a big monster. He's from 1954, the movie Creature from the Black Lagoon. If you haven't seen it, it's an excellent movie. I've actually gotten the two actors. Actually, the main actor that played the creature passed away, but I did send some photographs off to his son. His son really dug it, and we still communicate back and forth. But anyhow, you can buy this creature from a company called Ruby's, and they're called Grave Walkers. They come with the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein's monster, werewolf, and Dracula. They're meant as more like Halloween decorations to set out in your yard. Look like they're coming up out of the ground. These are made out of very rigid, strong foam, like a styrofoam, but very rigid and strong. It's difficult to break these things. So, partially hollow. The arms are solid. The top of the head's solid, but from the chin down is hollow. So I took spray stuff, expanding foam, filled up the cavity, shaved off the bottom after it dried, and then I took several cans of Krylon UV spray clear coat, put, I don't know, 10, 15 coats of clear coat on it, and then I finally went over it after it dried with Plasta Dip, or the rubberized spray that comes in a can that you see advertised on TV, where the guy, you know, takes a screen door boat and sprays the screen and the boat floats. But I used a clear coat. So he's waterproof. He's been out in the sun for about a year now. I see no fading, no chips. The bullfrogs absolutely love him. They'll sit on his hand, they'll sit on his shoulder, they'll sit underneath his chin. Birds loathe him. The herons loathe him. So if there's one thing that I found that will keep herons out of your pond, is a Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I say that because I think it's his eyeballs. His eyeballs aren't glass, but they're like an acrylic, and they're very realistic, and they look straight up into the sky. So any predator flying over sees this two eyeballs sticking up, and you don't see this guy, you know, Cujo. He just sits there and doesn't do anything. Can't even see his eyeballs. But this guy moves around in the water a little bit with the wind. He looks realistic, and he's driven off pretty much all my birds except for hummingbirds, which sucks because I used to love the robins, you know, swimming in the pond or in the waterfall. And this year we did have a few birds that braved it and got in there when in the heat, but other than that, no birds come around. Possums, yes. Bullfrogs, yes. Raccoons, I haven't seen any raccoons, but so I get a lot of questions how I did that. So that's how he floats. This piece of wood is, you see the name Rita. That was the name of the boat in the movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon. The boat caught fire, so I took some repurposed cedar, took a torch, burnt the ends of it. Underneath I put some rigid styrofoam and balanced it out so when I put the creature on the wreckage it would float. He's anchored down with two ropes to some stones, but he's got enough movement with the wind he can move around. Right now I've got some lily pads kind of holding him in place. Unfortunately, we bought these lilies off of Amazon. These never have bloomed. My blue one never even sprouted, and I've gotten some flowers off of that, so not really impressed. You see I've got aphids. I just sprayed those with essential oil, lavender mixed with water, and aphids hate it. I don't remember if I said anything about citronella plants. Citronella plants don't do anything. It's citronella oil, so don't buy a bunch of plants thinking you're going to get rid of your mosquitoes. Quickly, to get rid of mosquitoes, if you have a sitting area, the best thing I have found, $150 fan, $140 fan from Amazon, made by iLiving. These are waterproof, 3-speed fans, and they keep the air moving back here so mosquitoes won't land on you. You can see them sometimes in your peripheral vision, maybe a couple feet from you, but they won't come close to you. So yeah, the fans work great. So I'm trying to make this thing short. You know, I've got some landscaping. One thing I can tell you about your pond is make it your own. Don't be afraid of what people are going to say and think about your pond. I know some of you guys are looking at my pond, that is so gaudy, why would you do something like that? And I got people that just think it's the coolest thing ever. My grandkids love it. I even got my grandkids involved with my pond because I wanted them to have excitement. You know, I had them paint the gold rocks. I had them paint gold nuggets and place them wherever they want, almost like Easter eggs. You know, I got a gold nugget up there that one of my oldest grandsons got. I'll buy stuff like prairie dog and give it to one of my grandsons. Put that out wherever you want. Really? Yeah, wherever you want to put it. You know, and get things that just catch people's eyes as they walk through that are interesting. You know, rattlesnake, you know, that kind of freaks people out. Even in my main waterfall, grandkids have put, you know, gold nugget in there. Over there somewhere is a gold skull that was actually a firework that my son painted gold. I try to keep it natural looking, so I covered my biofalls with plants and logs and stones. Don't ask me about plants, my wife does all the plants, but 2 weeks ago, these were all bloomed out and beautiful. We're getting in the fall, so we're trimming back stuff. We just put up a hummingbird feeder yesterday, I think it was, or day before. We've already got 4 to 6 hummingbirds flying around. But yeah, make it your own. One area we're working on that we didn't get very far on this year is the new fire pit area. This little thing, UFO from Lowe's, is going to go away. That was just temporary. But inside that is what's called a solo stove, S-O-L-O stove. Check them out if you're into fire pits. They make the best fire pit out of stainless steel. It's smokeless, so if you're sitting off the side, you don't get smoke in your eyes. Every time I go to a party and they got a bonfire going, the smoke goes directly to me. These are designed so they are smokeless. Very cool. I'd show it to you, but I got to take the cover off and all that crud. But yeah, do I guess, let me sit down here, things getting to me. So, if I was to give anybody advice, and I'm not a professional by any means, I've only built one pond in my life, and that pond I remodeled recently. But anybody that's contemplating a pond, making a pond, they're in the middle of the pond or a water feature, whatever, my first advice is take your time. Don't let time rush you. Don't think you have to have it done by this fall. Don't let weather or seasons decide and dictate how quickly you're going to finish your pond. I get it. You want to enjoy it. You want it done. You worked hard. But please, that is very important. And I say that because once you built it, changing it can be very difficult. If you made it too small, it's going to be hard to make it bigger. If you didn't put the waterfall where you wanted it, it's hard to change that. If you're one of those people that ended up putting your water feature at the back of your yard, no one can see it, you got to walk 35, 40 feet out to go look at it, no one's going to appreciate that. So take your time and think this thing out. Number two, do what you want to do. If you want to do a traditional, formal Japanese pond, do it. You want an above ground pond feature, do it. If you want a free form pond, do it. Sorry, I might have got interrupted. I had a call coming in. But do it. Make it your own. Don't be afraid of what other people think, because you know what? This, to me, is my decompression area. We all carry baggage, right? We carry the weight of our jobs, emotional stuff that's going on in your lives, family, kids, illnesses, COVID. I could go on. And this is a place for me to come out and just zen out and just decompress. That's why I made something that was a little bit Knott's Berry Farm, a little bit Disney World, Disneyland, a little bit Universal Studios, because I want to be transported to a different area. And if you do it right, you can have two ponds in one. And how I mean that is you can have a daytime pond like you just seen. The sun comes down and you see every little part of your pond, the fish and everything. And then if you watch part 2 of my video, you'll see what it looks like at night. So if you design your lighting, which is a whole other concept, if you design your lighting right, you can have an entirely different atmosphere. And I relate that to a trip I took a few years ago to Orlando, went to Disney World, went inside the Avatar ride at dusk. When I came out, it was dark. The park had changed. It was like, where am I? It had completely changed. The environment, the look, everything about it was different. So when you come out here and see this at night, it's a whole different animal. It's a whole different environment. But regardless, I usually get lots of feedback. My neighbors love it. I've had a few people post and say crap. People are always going to talk smack. I don't care what you build. Someone's always going to talk smack. Don't worry about that. Make it a place that you can just hang out, relax, decompress, enjoy your fish, and have fun with it, man. But take your time doing it. Learn what you can. Get it close to your house. Yeah, mine's about as close to the house that you could pop. Literally borders my patio. Some home builders and contractors would say you are nuts. It's been here 20 years. I haven't had a single problem. I am not well rehearsed in home or water gardens, chemicals and all that sort of stuff. So I keep mine very simple. I clean my main filters in the spring. I check my basket about once a week in my skimmer, and then I add micro lift muck away to help keep some of the junk off the bottom of the pond. I go in there with my my netting, pick up leaves or whatever might be in there from time to time, but I keep the maintenance low. I've only checked the, I don't know if I said this before, but I've only checked the chemicals in here twice. First, when we built the pond, I got the little strips that you dip in there. And this summer, or late spring, I did the actual chemical test. You know, I don't know, there's 8 or 9 different tests, nitrogen and all that stuff. They all came out perfect. And I just believe in simplicity. You know, I don't have a UV light filter. I've got fish, plants, and water. And bacteria. That's all I got. So I keep it simple. But that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something. Sorry the video's so long, but I wanted to answer some questions about certain parts of my water garden. If you have more questions, you know, fire away. If you got comments, fire away. Good luck on your pond. I appreciate your photos and stuff. And look out for my part 2 video, which I took last night, and you kind of see what it looks like at nighttime. So I'm out of here. Thank you.